So from today, we are going to start REST Assured, and using REST Assured, we can automate REST APIs. So today we will see introduction, what is REST Assured and how to install REST Assured, like what are the prerequisites are required. And then we will see the basic operations, how we can send, get a request, post request, delete, and put request. Okay, some basic request type we will see. So what is REST Assured? So REST Assured itself is an API through which we will able to automate REST APIs. Okay, so this is the definition. So REST Assured is an API. REST Assured is also an API, and REST Assured will provide a certain number of methods. So when you call those methods, which will perform some actions or which will perform some request. So REST Assured is an API, and through which we can automate REST APIs. Okay, so through which we can automate REST APIs. Only REST APIs will be supported. Other type of APIs will not be supported. Is it designed only for REST APIs? So REST Assured is an API through which we can automate REST API. So to use it, what are the prerequisites? So basically the REST Assured is kind of a API, or we can say it is in a library. Okay, we can also call it as a library API, or you can say library, just like a Selenium WebDriver. So how we will work with the Selenium WebDriver? So we'll just download some jar files, and then we will attach them to the Eclipse project, and then we will get additional classes and methods, right? Similarly, REST Assured is also an API or a library, and we have to download those jar files, and then we have to attach them to your project so that we will get some additional classes and methods from the REST Assured. And by using those methods and classes, we will able to automate the REST APIs, and we will able to send different type of requests. We'll able to validate the responses. So all these things are possible using REST API. So REST Assured is an API or library through which we can automate REST APIs. Okay, there's a definition. Now, what are the prerequisites which we need to have to work with the REST Assured? Prerequisites. What are the basic installations which we need to have? So the prerequisite is to work with REST Assured. The first thing is you need to have Java and Eclipse, or other than Eclipse, any editor is fine. So basically, most of the times we use Java and Eclipse combination. So you need to have Java and Eclipse. Again, Java is optional because when you install Eclipse, by default, Java will come with Eclipse. Okay, nowadays Java is also bundled with Eclipse. So even if you're not installed Java, you don't need to worry. So that will automatically come with Eclipse. And those guys are supported at least Java 9 plus. Okay, so Java 9 plus, they are basically supporting. And 8 is also fine, but recent REST Assured versions, they are suggested to have Java 9 plus, whatever it is. And Eclipse. Eclipse is an IDE where we can write our scripts. Okay, REST Assured scripts. Okay, and previously Java, we have to first install as a prerequisite to install Eclipse, but nowadays Eclipse will automatically comes with Java, so you don't need to bother about Java. So later, if you want to run your test cases in command prompt or Jenkins, so then we need external Java. So not in Eclipse, we need external Java. Okay, that time we can install Java, but even if you have already Java in your system, no problem, we can continue with that. And Eclipse is also required, and which is basically an editor. Okay, so this is a first requisite, Java and Eclipse. And the second thing is, so once you have installed Eclipse, inside the Eclipse, we need to install one more add-on, that is TESTNG. So TESTNG framework we are going to use, because from TESTNG we will get a good number of features, right? So we are going to use those features from TESTNG, especially maintaining the test suite, maintaining the test cases, and data provider parameterization, running the multiple suites, multiple tests. So these are very important features we will get from TESTNG. So we are also going to use TESTNG. So these are the prerequisites, and along with that, Maven. So Maven will even come comes along with Eclipse. So Maven we no need to install separately. So that plugin will along with the comes along with the Eclipse. So that is another thing, Maven. okay, which will comes with automatically with Eclipse. But SDET we have to install separately. Okay. So Cucumber is a different type of framework. So we no need to have Cucumber, not required here. RestAssured by default support Cucumber style of writing the test cases. But for that, we don't need to add any additional Cucumber plugins, not required. Okay, by default, RestAssured support BDD style of writing the test cases. Okay, fine. So these are the three prerequisites which we need to have before starting RestAssured. So Java Eclipse, TestNG should be there, and TestNG we have to install after getting the Eclipse. And then Maven. Okay, so Maven will comes along with the Eclipse. Okay, so once we have this, then we can start working RestAssured. Again, we have to download RestAssured jar files, or else if you are using Maven, so we can just add the dependencies of RestAssured so that we will get additional classes and methods. Okay, so these are the prerequisites which we need to have. So first, let us see how we can get this. So if anyone is not installed Java and Eclipse, so I will share a small document here. And this contains how to download Java and how to install Eclipse. Everything I have noted down here with the screenshots. I can share this document and go through it and just try to install it. Java is optional for now. You can directly install Eclipse, no problem. You can install Java later also. So how to install Eclipse? Simple. We can directly go to their official website. Just go to Eclipse. Just search for Eclipse download. And go to this location. This is their official website. Okay, and you can directly download this. And there is a installer for Mac also. And if you want to download for Mac, you can say Eclipse download for Mac. So it will directly go there. And you can download from Mac also. So this is for Eclipse ID for Java developers. And you can see this is for Windows. For Mac version is also available. There will be some DMG file. You can just download for that. This is for Linux and this is for Mac OS. You can just look at here. This is for Mac OS, 32-bit and 64-bit. Try to download 64 bits because nowadays there is no 32-bit. All are 64-bit installer. So you can just download this and you can try to install it. This is simple installer. We can just click on the executable file and say next, next, next. So you can see this. Okay. So once you download it, so we'll get small executable file or DMG file. So you can just double click and it will proceed further. So here we have to select Eclipse ID for Java developer in the welcome window. And then it will show you the location where exactly it will install, which version of Java it will come along with Eclipse. It will show you some options and then click on the install. Then installation will start and it will take some time. And once installation is successful here, okay, so it will show you the location of your Eclipse and click on the launch button. So then automatically, first time when you launch your Eclipse, it will ask you for the workspace. So workspace in the sense, whatever the task or whatever the job you have done inside the Eclipse, everything will be saved in one location that is called workspace. So workspace is a storage area where which will store everything. So whatever we do in Eclipse, everything will be stored in that particular workspace. So first time when you're launching your Eclipse, it will ask you the workspace and you can just create one folder wherever you want to store your files and browse that folder, then launch it. So then your Eclipse will be launched and first time you will get the welcome screen. So let me show you my Eclipse. So I already installed my Eclipse. Let's go and show me. So here, this is my Eclipse icon you will get. So click on it and this will start our Eclipse. And this is the first prerequisite. So first we have installed Eclipse. So first time when you open the Eclipse, you will get welcome screen. You can just, once you close the welcome screen, then you will see the package explorer like this. So you don't see anything by default. You can see some options here, package explorer and some bottom window. You can see some icons and menus you can see. So the first thing is here, we have to create a new project. Okay, whenever you start working on something, we have to first create a new project in the Eclipse. So if you create a normal Java project, so you have to download RestAssured jar files externally Then you have to add them to your project. Manually you have to add. So many dependencies are there, not only one or two dependencies. At least we have to download 5 to 6 types of dependencies. Okay, so we need to again downloading the jar file from the different places is very difficult thing. So instead of creating normal Java project, we will create a Maven project. So what is an advantage of Maven project? So when you create a Maven project, we can just add the dependencies, which will automatically download required jar files or libraries. The second advantage is, suppose tomorrow if there is any versions got changed, so we can easily change those versions. We can easily update your project with the latest versions. In the pom.xml, just we need to change the version number, and that will automatically remove the old jar files or old dependencies, and it will update with the latest dependencies. So that is another usage of Maven project. So whenever you are working on Java projects, not only this RestAssured or not only Selenium, wherever or whenever you're working on some Java related projects, we will always create a Maven project. Okay, so this is your Eclipse, and here we have to create a Maven project. So that I will do later. This is the first requisite. The second thing is a TestNG we have to install. Okay, so this is another important add-on we have to install. So to TestNG, if you want to install, what we can say is just go to window here. So go to help menu, and here you can see Eclipse Marketplace. So go to Eclipse Marketplace, and whatever additional add-ons or plugins we required for Eclipse, we will able to get from the Eclipse Marketplace. So here just go to Eclipse Marketplace, and here search for TestNG and click on go button. So it will show you the TestNG for Eclipse. So just you need to click on the install button here. So I already installed this, so I'm not getting that button. So in case if you are doing this first time, you will get this button like this install button. So once you click on this install button, so then you will able to, it will automatically start your TestNG and installation will be completed. It will take few seconds, and after completion of installation, then it will ask you to restart your Eclipse. So you have to restart it. Okay. So this is TestNG plugin. It is very simple to install. You can just go through the steps, and then Maven, anyway, it will come along with the Eclipse. So these are the prerequisites which we need to have before starting with the RestAssured. Okay. So how to create and save projects in the particular workspace? You need to just hold on for some time. I'll show you. So Eclipse is ready, and TestNG, and then we will create a Maven project anyway. So because Maven will come along with the Eclipse, so we have to create a Maven project. So once you have these prerequisites, then we will start working with the project. Okay. So as soon as you open the Eclipse first time, okay, now you won't see any projects or nothing here. Okay. So we have to create a new Maven project. So now I have an Eclipse. So now the first thing is we need to create a new project. So whenever you want to create a new project, always try to create a Maven project, but not a Java project. Okay. So create, you can see more options here, create Java project, create a project, multiple options you can see. And instead of doing this, you can directly go to a file, new, and here you can select project option, and don't take the Java project, just take the normal project. Okay, so even if you have created Java project, no problem, because later we can convert that into Maven project. But instead of doing all that indirectly, we can directly create a Maven project. So in this widget, it will show you different options which are available in Eclipse, and you can just select the Maven here, expand, and see this Maven project. So you can select this option and then say click on the next button. And once you click on the next button, which will ask you where exactly, it will show you basically location, default workspace location. I'm selected this because whatever workspace we have opened. Okay, so before that, I already switched to my workspace here. Let me close this for now. So first time it will ask you workspace, right? So you can see RestAssured training. This is a workspace which you already created. Suppose if you want to switch to another workspace, or suppose you created some folders in some other place you want to switch, then you can just go to file, and here you can see one option called switch to workspace. And here click on other, and you can just browse wherever your workspace is created, you can just browse it. So this is a workspace name I have created inside this folder. So I'm just browsing that workspace so that all your tasks will be stored in the or saved in that particular workspace. Okay, so you can also switch between multiple workspaces, but always maintain one workspace for one project. Okay, even in one workspace, we can store multiple projects. Multiple projects also we can create in one workspace. That is also fine. Okay, let me just create a Maven project. So go to File, New, select a project, and then here we have to select the Maven and select a Maven project and say click on the next. Okay, so in the screen, so it will show you different type of default templates, project templates. We don't need all those things. We will create our own template. So simply select the first checkbox, create a simple project. Okay, it will basically skip archetype section. If you don't select what happens here, it will show you some templates here. So by default, some template will be displayed here like this. You can see there are different templates will be there for different type of projects. So instead of using predefined templates, we will create our own templates. So we know just select this checkbox and it will not show you those templates. It will just skip the archetype selection. Then click on the next button. Right. So here we have to provide some information. So here all other fields are optional, but at least group ID and artifact ID we have to specify. So group ID is basically representing your project name, and artifact ID is representing the package name, the root package name, which is created inside the project. So I can give same name. So here I'm specifying my package. My project name is RestAssured. Okay, RestAssured Training. Okay, my workspace name is also same I have given. So RestAssured Training. This is my project name. And I'm also giving the artifact name same. And the rest of the fields are optionally, which will automatically create. You can simply say finish. So once you've done it, then it is created new Maven project inside your Eclipse. This is the Maven project which is created. If I just expand this, you can see some default packages which are created: SRC main Java, SRC main resources, SRC test Java, SRC test resources. These are the predefined packages which are created. And JRE Java also attached this project. So by default, and this is the pom.xml, which is most important thing, where we will specify all the dependencies. Means what? Whatever the jar files we required and what are all other external dependencies we required to use this project, we can specify all those dependencies in this pom.xml, and this will automatically download required jar files for our project, and which is very, very useful. So let me just close other unwanted windows. The bottom of the window and side window, it will show you some outline and so on. So I can just close them. So this is the first Maven project which we have created. So once you created your Maven project, let me maximize it. Okay. So this is a Maven project. Just you can create, and if you want to increase the font and everything, you can still do it. You can just go to window preferences and go to general section, appearance, colors and fonts, and here you will be able to increase the font. I can just first increase the font of your editor, go to basic, and this my text font, currently small size 10 is there, so let me just try to increase to 20. Okay, and this is the one. And also we can increase this package editor font. This seems very smaller, right? So for that, we can just again go to basic. Okay, text editor, blog selection font is there, right? So you can just increase this. You can just make it as a 12. Okay, it is still not increased. Let me just go to preferences. And this is the one, view and editor folders, tree and table font views, edit. Yes. Okay, so now it is got. external. So it is got increased. So I'll show you one more time. Go to Window, Preferences, and here you can see General and Appearance. In the Appearance section, go to Colors and Fonts. So this is the one. So you can just select the basic option. In the basic option, you can see here there are two options. This is for text font. In the editor, we will type that script, right? That is a font. And the above one is what? Not this one. So text editor block, not this one. So we need to go to another one. Here, View and Editor folders. If you want to increase the size of this package explorer tree, then you can just go to View and Editor folders, and here select this, click on Edit, and here we can increase. Let me just put 11. That is fine. Okay, so this is how we can just increase the size. So this is default Maven project. Okay, so currently we have 3 packages: SRC main Java, SRC main resources, SRC test Java, SRC test resources. Package is nothing but what? It is just a folder. So normally we create a folders, right? Inside the folders, we will have some files. Similarly, in Java, whatever classes we will create, everything will be part of your packages. Okay. So SRC main Java resources, and this is a test Java test resources. We have 4 different packages. So especially test SRC main Java is used for development code. Okay, so if you want to develop something, so we will write that code inside the SRC main Java. And for developing, while developing some code, you need some resources like properties file or Excel sheet or any other configuration files are required. We can keep inside the SRC main resources. So these 2 are for only for development purpose. Okay, for development, we can use these 2 packages. And once the development is done, we have to test that, right? Test the code. For that, we use SRC test Java for testing code. And while testing, if you need any external files like configuration files and so on, then we will keep inside the SRC test resources. Right, so this is a file. We can store different configuration files in the SRC test resources. And SRC test Java is for testing. All the test cases we will include inside the SRC test Java. So by default, these 4 packages are provided by Maven project. Okay. So now, so far we have seen Eclipse is ready and TestNG is also ready. And how we will know whether TestNG is successfully installed or not? So once you install TestNG from the marketplace, so I already shown you. So just go to marketplace. Okay, and once you install TestNG from here, then you will see one new option. Just go to Window, Preferences, and here you can see TestNG here. So if you see this option, means you already have a TestNG. Okay, but if you have a Maven project, this is also optional. Okay, you can just add dependency in the pom.xml TestNG dependency we will add. In that case, we don't need to use this plugin. Okay. Right, so this is a prerequisite. First, we need to have Eclipse and then TestNG and then Maven, so which is automatic comes with the Eclipse. So we already created a Maven project. So now the next thing is we need to add some dependencies to the Maven project. Okay, dependencies. So if I just open the pom.xml, and this file will automatically get when you create a Maven project. So this is our pom.xml. So in the pom.xml, we have to add certain number of dependencies. And then it will automatically download required dependencies for our project. Then we can start writing our code. So what are the dependencies which we required for RestAssured? So we can refer them in the RestAssured of their official documentation. So go to Google and just search for RestAssured. Okay, RestAssured. So it will navigate to official website, RestAssured. So this is their official web page. And if you just go to docs here, they will give you official documentation, a very detailed documentation they have provided. So click on getting started. So here they will show you what are all dependencies we required. So Maven or Gradle users, we are Maven users currently. So RestAssured, if you want to use, we have to add certain dependencies like RestAssured dependency. And then JSON path also required. This is another dependency required. and XML path dependency is required. And then JSON schema validator dependency is required. So these are the dependencies, and other dependencies are given for development purpose. So especially when you're working with the Spring and everything, so then we need it, otherwise not required. So they have mentioned what are all dependencies we required, especially in Java. So they will suggest a Java 9 actually. Even Java 8 also they are not suggesting. They are basically suggesting the Java 9 here. Okay, so these are the required dependencies which we have to import. And once we imported all the dependencies, then we will discuss about the static packages. Okay, static import. So let's go to pom.xml. Let's add one by one all the dependencies. And apart from this, we need some other dependencies also to maintain the framework and everything. So I will try to add those dependencies also. Okay. So how to add dependencies? Go to pom.xml, and here we need to add one tag called dependencies. Dependencies. This is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag. Opening tag and a closing tag. So this spelling mistake. Okay, dependencies. Opening tag, and this is the closing tag. Dependencies. So inside the dependencies, we have to keep all the dependencies. Inside the dependencies, which we have to add all the dependencies. So what are all the dependencies which we have to add? So we already referred the document. So the same dependencies we have to add. I will list out here. So later you guys, anyway, I'll share the pom.xml. You can just directly copy paste from there. But actually, if I don't have pom.xml, so how we can get this dependency, I will show you. So I will write all the dependencies here one by one, and accordingly, we can just specify them. So the first dependency is io.RestAssured. This is the first dependency. And the second dependency is JSON path. Okay, so IO is a package name actually. So RestAssured dependency. And we need JSON path dependency, the second one. And then we have JSON dependency. JSON is another dependency, and JSON is also one more dependency. JSON is different, JSON is different. Okay, both are different. And then we have something called, and again, this JSON is available in two different packages. Okay, so I'll show you that. So JSON is one dependency. JSON, for the JSON, we have to add two dependencies. Especially for JSON, we have to add two dependencies. Okay, I'll show you what are those dependencies later. So then we need to have TESTNG dependency. That is another dependency. And then we have something called script Java APIs. Okay, this is another dependency. I'll tell you what is the use of it. Script Java -API. So this dependency used for generating random test data. So while testing the APIs, right? So we will send the request body, right? So in the request body, sometimes we need to pass random data dynamically, or we can say some fake data we have to generate. So for that, this API will be useful. This is a third-party API, and which we can use in other technologies also, normal Java projects, Selenium projects, everywhere we can use to generate the fake data kind of data. And then we have to add one more JSON schema validator. JSON schema validator. So this is another dependency which we require to validate JSON schema. Okay, and similarly, XML schema validator is also available. So we need to add that also. XML schema validator. Schema validator. Okay, so these are the required dependencies which we need to have in the pom.xml so that we will get required jar files for our project. Okay, so now let me add all the dependencies here. So from where we will able to get these dependencies. So to get these dependencies, we will refer MVN repository, mvnrepository.com. So if you just go to this website, you can find all the dependencies here. Suppose I want to download RestAssured dependency. So you can just search for RestAssured. So now it will show you the RestAssured here. You can click on it. and then copy this dependencies and then go back to your pom.xml and copy it here. That's it. So this is how we can just download the dependencies one after another. This is our RestAssured dependency. Okay, so this comes from this particular default package. And similarly, we will able to download all other dependencies. So I already downloaded all the dependencies in the pom.xml. I will share that pom.xml. You can just copy paste directly. And suppose tomorrow, if there is any version changes happen, then you can just change the version number in the pom.xml. That will automatically remove your old jar files, and then it will download latest jar files. It is very simple to upgrade your project also if it is a Maven project. Okay. All right. So similarly, let me just add other required dependencies of our project. Go to pom.xml. Just added all other dependencies. Okay. So this is how we can just add other dependencies. Okay. Now save the file. So once you save, it will start downloading. Some error is showing. Let me show you what is an error. So pom.xml end tag name. Okay, so this is ending tag name. Missing any tag name here? Yeah, I think spelling mistake. Yeah, dependencies here and here. Dependencies. Just a second. Okay, this is the closing tag. Okay, and we need to have an opening tag. So before specifying all the dependencies, here we have to write an opening tag. This is an opening tag. Okay, now save the file. So once you save the file, so then it will download all required dependencies. And you can see those dependencies under Maven dependencies pack. You can see here, this is a new entry which is created. So these are all the different dependencies we just downloaded through pom.xml file. Okay, now we can just look at this. So this is very, very useful, right? If we create a Maven normal Java project, everything we have to do manually. So we have to add all the jar files manually, and we have to, again, if tomorrow, if you want to upgrade your project, again, we have to remove old jars, and again, we have to add new jars. A lot of manual tasks will be there. So to avoid that, simply create a Maven project. Okay, so log4j for now, it is not required. If you want to add any logs, then it is required. Otherwise, no need. Okay, so if required, we will add them later in the project, but here we don't need. Okay, because we are just trying to learn some concept from the Maven. First, we will learn some concept from the RestAssured. Okay, and at the end of the course, I will show you the framework. That time I will use log4j dependency also. Okay, we will also do one small project on RestAssured. Okay, and that time I will show you all other type of dependencies. So first we will learn all the concepts. Okay, how we can send different type of requests. So whatever concepts we have learned in the Postman tool, right? Same concepts will be there in here also, but here we do everything through automation script. We have to write our own script. Everything will be there. Okay, we verify the body, request body, response body, chaining, status code. Everything will be there. Everything is repeated here, but we will do everything through automation code. Okay, that is the only difference. In the Postman, we have done manually, but here we do everything is automated. Okay, once you learn all the concept, then I will show you the complete framework development, how to develop the framework, and then how we can generate the report. We will see so many other things. Okay, so first let us focus on concepts first, and first let us learn all the concepts, then we will proceed further. Okay, all right, so now we have created a new project, and then we have updated pom.xml and everything is ready. So these are the prerequisites. You have to ready with these things. Okay, now we are ready to create RestAssured project. We already created, so we are ready to write our automation scripts. Okay, so far everything is clear. Everyone, please confirm in the chat window. Can you guys do it yourself? I will share the document for Eclipse installation, testing installation. Just go through the document step by step and just try to install it. If you already worked on WebDriver Selenium earlier, so you may have all the setup ready. So you don't need to do any additional setup. Just directly create your Maven project. And if you're completely new and if you're doing this first time, then you have to install Eclipse TESTNG and then do the setup. Okay. So now we are ready with the setup and configuration. Now let's see how we can create REST assured request. Okay, so REST assured basically have different type of request, right? HTTP request. So let's see how we can automate the basic HTTP request. So the first thing is we have to create GET request, and we have POST request, and we have then PUT request, right? So we have then PUT request, and then we have a delete request. So these are the four main requests we do in the HTTP request. So let us see how we can create a automation test with this request. So as a first step, very basic. So I'm just taking request and response API. So which we already used earlier in the Postman tool, and same API I'm taking to understand the basic stuff. Later we will try to with this different type of APIs. So from this, I'm taking four different type of requests. One is single user, creating the single user. This is getting the user, and create. This is the one another API I'm taking, which will create a new user, and then update. For updating user, so we can use either PUT request or you can use patch request, either this one, PUT request, or you can use patch request. Both are almost same. And then for delete request, I'm taking this. So this will delete the user. So creating user and getting the user information, and update the user and delete the user. So these are the four requests I'm going to automate through REST API. Okay. So for that, let's go to Eclipse now. And so rest of the packages we don't need. SRC test Java, right? Inside this, we are going to create everything. So if you want to delete them, you can still delete those two. We don't need these two packages. We can directly delete them. And don't delete SRC tester resources, which we require in future. Only delete SRC main Java, SRC main resources. You can just right click and then delete them. Okay, so now under SRC test Java, we are going to create all the scripts. So inside this, I'm creating a new package again. So today I'll say day one, rest assured, day one. So every day I'll create a new folder. So in the day one, let me just create a new class. And whenever you want to create a new test case, we have to create a new class. Okay. So in this, I'm going to create a new class name. I say HTTP requests. Okay, HTTP request. So this is the name of the class I have given, and we are going to write the test cases in the TESTNG style. Okay, not in the Java style. So we don't need to take any main method. So click on finish directly. So which will create a new class. So this new class is representing a new test case. Okay, new test case. All right. So now let us try to create a new test case. So whenever you create a REST assured test cases, so by default, which will follow BDD style, behavior driven development approach. Okay. So how we will write the test cases. So here we have to understand few important things. So we have something called Gherkin language. Okay. So we have something called Gherkin. So this is a particular language and which contains some number of keywords. Some keywords will be used. And these keywords especially be used in the BDD approach, like given, when, then, and. So like that. So there are different keywords available in the Gherkin. So REST assured by default support this. So you don't need to add any special type of dependencies like Cucumber or all those things. We don't need that. So by default, REST assured will support BDD style of writing test cases. So we are going to write all the tests using BDD style. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, spelling mistake. It's a Gherkin. Okay. By default, which will support BDD style of writing test cases. So we don't need to add any additional dependencies to support this. So let me just try to show you few keywords, how we will use them at the time of writing the test cases. So before writing the test case, okay, so here we use certain number of keywords, I said, right? So first thing is given. And these are all basically methods, not a keywords, basically methods, okay? Given, and then we have something called when, and then we have something called then. So these are the main three things which we are going to use: given, when, and then. Okay. So first listen, guys. So don't compare with any other videos. Please listen from the beginning. So once I have completed this topic, then I'll take the question, then I will answer that. Okay. First listen completely. So rest assured is provided certain number of keywords like given, when, and then. So just remember only these three methods, guys. Only three methods. Okay. I'll tell you when we have to use given, when we have to use when we have to use then. It's very, very simple. If you try to understand, it's very easy also. It's not that much complicated. It's very, very simple. I'll tell you. So these are the only three methods we will use while writing the rest assured test cases. Only three methods. But what is the difference between given, when, and then? So what is the different type of content we will include inside the given, when? So you can consider these three are the three different sections in your automation test case. So automation test case, you can divide into three sections. You can say given section, when, and then. So you can consider them as a three different sections. Okay. So in the given section, okay, let me put the comment here. So in the given session, what type of code we can include? Whenever you are sending a API request, so you already seen in the Postman also, whenever you are sending a API request, there are some prerequisites are required. Can anyone tell me what are the prerequisites before sending any API request? What are the things we required? Sometimes we have to specify the what kind of content we are sending. Okay, and we can specify authentication. We can add query parameters, path parameters. We can set some headers, cookies. So these information also we can pass along with the request, right? When you're sending some post request, especially, we will send all these things, right? So these things we have to keep inside the given section. Inside the given section, what are the content we have to keep? Content type, cookies, authentication, parameters, headers, information, etc. So all these things comes under given section. Okay, so in the given section, we have to keep these information. Now, in the when section, what we have to do? So in the when section, we have to specify the request type, like get request, post request, put request, delete request. So all the request URLs we will keep inside the when section. And the third section, then all validations we have to do under then section. Validations. What are the validations? Status code, response, headers, cookies, response body. All these things we will validate, right? Once you get a response. So all those things we have to keep inside the then section. It's very simple to understand. The entire test case is divided into three parts. One is prerequisites. Second part is a request. Third part is a validation. So all prerequisites we have to keep inside the given. All requests we have to keep inside the when. All validations we have to keep inside the then. If you understand this structure, we can easily write our test cases. It's very, very simple and we can easily write our test cases. Okay. Now, so based on this, let us try to create a test cases. So given, when, then. Actually, these are the methods which are available in rest assured. And in the given section, we specify content type, cookies, authentication, parameters, headers, everything we can keep inside the given section. All the requests should be part of when section. All the validation should be part of then section. Okay, it's very simple and straightforward. So we don't use and here. And is not required. Just given, then, given, when, and then. So sometimes we use and also, that will be part of then section again. If you have multiple validation points, let's say I want to verify status code, response code, then you can use and. Okay. And also will be there, which is also part of then. Then it will part. So I will show you that also. Once we validate multiple things, then we can use and keyword. Right. So this is the structure of creating the tests in rest assured. Okay, so you have to remember this is very, very fundamental. Now, based on that, let us try to create a RestAssured test cases. So now first test. So I'm going to write a test cases in the TESTNG style. You have to remember this. So the first test is what I'm going to create a new user. Okay, here. Okay, so before creating, let me just execute the single user get request. So when you send this request, you will get some response here. You can see this is a response. So let us try to automate this, getting the single user. So for that, I'm going to write a one TESTNG test. So void get user. Okay, void get user. And this is my test method. So in the TESTNG, every method should be defined with the test annotation. So then only TESTNG will consider that method as a test method, then it will able to execute. So I hope everybody know about Java and TESTNG. So as I said, beginning itself, these are the prerequisites. So you have to know some basics of Java and TESTNG. Okay. So now in the TESTNG, I have created a new class, right? So inside this, I have created one test method. So get user is a test method. Get user is a test method. Now inside this, I'm going to create a test cases. So what are the different sections we discussed here? Given, when, then, right? So let me just write them first. Given, when, and then. Okay. So to identify these keywords, especially we have to import some packages. Okay. To identify these keywords, we have to import special packages. And what are the packages which we have to import? There are mainly three packages which we have to import. They are called static packages. Okay, so static packages we have to import. Why I'm calling as static packages? They are not normal packages, because whenever you put the cursor here, it will show you the package names, right? So immediately we say import, that will automatically import the package. That's a normal way will happen whenever you use some new classes or external classes. But in these cases, it will not happen like this. It will not show you required packages in this list. So they are called static packages. We have to find out and we have to add them manually. So what are those static packages? In every test case, we have to add those three static packages. So what are those three static packages they have supported? So go to RestAssured document here. And in this, they have provided something called static imports. So these three packages which we have to import in every test case, copy them and then place it over here and use import keyword, import. So these packages by default, it will not show you in the pop-up. So we have to do it manually, import. So these are three other special type of packages comes from RestAssured. And if you add this, then only the keywords will be identified. So now end with the semicolons and then save it. Okay, so these are the three static packages which you have to import. So now if you come here, these are the three keywords: given, when, and then. So whenever you start these methods, given, when, then. So actually the given is one method which includes when, this includes then. This is a combined method. So for the first method, you don't need to give any dot. From the second method, you have to give something called dot, because these methods we are accessing from given. So whichever method, sometimes given is also optional. If you don't have any prerequisites, if you don't have these things, you just ignore the given. You can just remove the given section. Directly you can write when and then. Okay. Suppose if you write a given section, then you no need to write the dot for this. Only when and then sections you need to start with the dot. Suppose sometimes we don't have any prerequisite, I directly want to send a request. Then you can just remove the given section and you can remove the dot for the when. So whichever method will start first, for that method, we don't need to specify the dot. So only then section is having dot. Suppose I have a prerequisites, then I can specify the given, and then for given method, you don't need to have a dot. From the second method, you need to specify the dot. So this is a structure we will normally follow. And whichever the first method you are using, for that method, dot is not required. It can be given or it can be when or it can then whatever. If that is a first parameter, first section, you don't need to specify the dot. From the second onwards, we have to specify the dot. Okay, remember this. Now, in the get user request, what are all prerequisites which we need to have? So if you want to send a request, go back here again. So when you send a request, I want to send a single user request. So how to send the request? What is the URL? We have to copy this main URL. Okay, and then copy this request. And this will basically display the users which are there in the second page. So this is a complete URL. This URL will use to get the users list. Get users on this particular page. So on this 2 means from the second page, it will get all the users. And this is the get request. Okay, so the next one is what? Post request or create user. So for that, what we have to use? So here we have a post request. So this is the one. And this is the URL again, slash, and what is the endpoint? So this is the endpoint, slash API slash users. Endpoint. And for this, we should also send body, right? So this is the body request. So this is your post request. So this is the URL and this is the body we have to send. Okay, and then put or patch. So you can just select the put request. So for put request also, it is the same URL. Put request means what? Update user. For update user, again, it is the same URL, get users URL, API users, API slash users slash 2. And here we have to send the body, updated body. Same body, but we have to change something here. This is the update request. And for delete request, this is a delete request. Again, same URL. Delete user. This is the URL. And this is the endpoint. So here the 2 is a user ID. So when you pass user ID, the response will be 204. So that also we have to validate. This is a URL. And here we have to pass the user ID. User ID, then obviously 204 is a status code. So these are the 4 type of requests. Get users, post user, update user, and delete user. So let us try to create different type of tests on this particular request. Okay, so now go back to the Eclipse. And now in the given session, what we have to specify in the given content type, cookies, authentication, parameters, all those things. But currently get requests don't have these things. You can simply ignore given section. You can just add given here. That's it. You don't need to write anything in this. So directly go to when section. In the when section, what you can specify? Only request type. Okay. So how to specify the request type in the when section? Which request you want to send? Get request. So I say dot get. This is the method. Dot get. Okay, dot get. And here in the double quotations, we have to specify the request type. So for get users, this is the URL. Copy here and then specify. And don't put any semicolons here because these methods are interrelated. They will not be end. So when section, we send a request dot get and specify the complete URL of your API. It is done. So what is the next step? Then come to the then section. So what are all things we have to validate here? So once you send this get request, and we have to validate the response code, which is 200. And also we can verify the body section. Okay, we can also verify the body section. So first, let's see how we can verify the status code. So in the then section, you can simply say dot status code. This is the method dot status code. And here we can specify which status code we are expecting. Let's say 200 I'm expecting. This is one validation point. Next line. What is another validation point? I want to check something in the body section. So in the body section, let's say I'm requesting second page of data. So here in the data also, you can see here ID is 2 here it is giving. Single user, right? I'm requesting single user. I've said 2 here. So the user ID is 2 here. The user ID is 2. So this I can validate. The ID is 2 or not, I can validate. So how we can validate this? So we can validate, right? How we can validate this? We can validate by passing the JSON path. So we have a concept of JSON path, right? That we have to specify. Okay. So let's see how we can do this. So for that, let me just capture this response. Okay. So for now, let us take the simple response. Later, I will include JSON path and everything. So for that, what I can do, instead of taking single user, take the list of users, take this particular request. Okay. So this is the URL I'm sending. List users, not get users, list users. Or you can say get users, because we are getting the all users information. So here, this is a URL which we have to send. Okay, this is the URL. And not a single user. So we are getting the multiple user request. First of all, copy it here. Okay, this is the endpoint. Copy this. And then specify the enter request URL. So this is a get user request, and which will return multiple users which are available in the page number 2. So if you just send this, you will get some response here, a big response you will get, different users you will get. And now we need to check whichever ID we have passed here, whichever page number we have passed. In the response also, the same page number should be there. Okay, that's my validation point. So how we can specify this? This page is directly available in the JSON. So how to get this value of the page in the rest assured? So we have a different syntax. So status code we already validated. The next thing is what? From the body, we have to validate something. So for that, we have a method called .body. And here, what is the field? Page, right? Page. So it is direct field available. So we don't need to write a bigger JSON path, right? But if you want to handle this email address, first name, last name, then we have to write a complete JSON path. But this is a first field and it is direct field available. So you can directly take page. So go back here and say page. And what is the value of the page we are expecting? We are expecting 2. So comma, here we have a method called equal to. This is again rest assured assertions. I can say 2. This is the value we are expecting. So this is the one validation point, and this is another validation point. And after that, if you want to display the entire response in the console window, if you want to see the response, then you can add one more method called, it is not a validation point, it is just for displaying the response in the console window. I can simply say log.all. So this will display the entire response in the console window. And now this is the end last step. So this here we have to specify semicolon. Okay. So this is the entire structure of writing the test. So given section currently not having anything because get request don't have any prerequisites. So you can just leave empty. And in the when section, we have sent get request. And in the then section, we have done the validation. Now, if I just look at here, there are few things which are still not recognized. You can see given is not recognized. And equal to is also not recognized. Means what? We have to import some additional packages. Rest assured, we have imported io.restassured. And io.restassured.matcher.restassured matches also we have imported. And HRM prest.matches also imported. But still it is not identifying them. So let me just check why it is not identified. And we put star. Star means what? Which will import all the classes which are available in those import packages. So one more important thing here, especially static packages we have imported. Yes, static packages we have imported, right? So they're not like normal packages. So we have to add one more thing called static keyword. So where we have to add after this import, we have to add something called static. Okay, in every package, before the package, we have to add something called static because these are the special packages. not normal packages. So then only these keywords will be identified, given, when, then, and everything will be identified. Okay. Now save it and everything is got saved. Okay. So everything is got. So we have imported required packages and whatever structure we discussed before, same structure, same thing we followed, given, when, then, and make sure except the first method, rest of all methods should start with the dot. Actually, the whole thing we can write within single line. That is also possible. But as a beginner, we need to understand few things here. The sections, what are the things we need to keep. So I just divided them into multiple parts. But later I will show you how we can write everything in one single line, because these methods are interrelated. Okay. So this is a get user test. So when you run this method, which will get all the users and which will validate something, and also response will be printed in the console window. Okay. So one more thing, if you don't have anything in the given section, you can directly remove that also, no problem. Even if you remove, no issues at all. But the first method is what now? When. So we should remove the dot for this. This is also fine. If you don't have anything in the given section, you can directly remove that method. Or even if you keep an empty method, no problem at all. So later, while sending the post request, we will add something in the given section. So that time I'll show you. For now, let me just continue have given method. And when you say given method, again, from the second method onwards, we have to say dot. Okay. So this is how we can just write a test for get request. Okay, get request. So here, these are rest assured assertions. So actually this equal to comes from this one, rest assured matches. This is the imported package, right? So from rest assured matches, this will come into picture. It will not use any other separate framework. By default, this will come from rest assured matches. Okay. Right. So let's try to execute this and see how it's going to work. So to run this, we can use run as a TESTNG. So TESTNG import package also we have import. I can just go to pom.xml, and TESTNG is also we have added somewhere here. You can see this dependency we have added. And if you're not added the dependency, then at least we have to add the TESTNG library to the project. So like this, you can just right click on the project properties and go to Java build path. And here we have to add TESTNG library. So not here, under libraries. Currently Java and Maven dependencies are there. If you want to add TESTNG library, just click on add library and select TESTNG and say next and then finish. And this is not required. If you add the dependency in the pom.xml, this is not required. Okay, so I just try to remove this. Fine, so everything is done. So pom.xml we have updated with required dependencies, and also we have created one request, first request. Let us try to execute it. Right click, run as TESTNG test. And it will ask you every time. So I can just select this marks and say, okay. Okay, so now it is trying to execute. Yes. So now it is executed and one is got passed. Now you can see the response here because we have said log.all, right? So this is printed the entire response in the console window also. And just go to console window and you can just look at here. These are the details. We got a response. So this is called status code. And these are all header information. And this is the actual response we got. This is actual response. So in that response, we have a page number 2, which is also validated. So that is got passed. And status code is 200 is also got passed. Both are got passed. Right. So this is how we can just automate. And you can see one more output here, get users. Here also it is get passed. So this is how we can simply write a small test for get request. Okay. So similarly, let us try to automate other type of request, post request, update user and delete user. So post user means we have to create a new user. So let me create one more test. So I'll say void create user. Create user. So I can give priority. So if you have a multiple test methods, If you want to execute in proper orders, you can give the priority, right? So I can just get users, I'll give priority 1, priority equal to 1. So currently I don't want to execute this, I can just comment this. So later we will execute all the requests in one shot. For now, we will create one by one and execute one by one. Once everything is successful, then we will execute all the requests in one shot. So now the create user. And whenever you create any new method, we have to specify with the test annotation. And now let us create. So again, 3 sections. You should not forget this. This is the thumb rule. First one is what? Given. Second one is what? When. Third one is what? Then. So first write entire structure. Then we will write a statements inside every section. Now given. So when I create a user, we are sending some data, right? We need some data. Request body is required because we are posting the user. Posting user is nothing but we are creating the user. Creating the user means we have to pass a user information like name and job we have to pass. So this is a prerequisite. So to send the post request, this is a prerequisite. So now we need to send this request along with this data, right? So this is a prerequisite. And what is the content type here? What is the content type? Content type. What kind of content we are sending here? What kind of content we are sending? JSON format, right? So there's a content. Okay. Remember, these two are important. Whenever you are sending the post request, what is the data you are sending and what type of data you are sending. So these two are very, very important, right? So now let us create post user or create user request. So I have created another test. So before using given, when, and then, we have to prepare some test data. So test data we have to prepare. So currently I have only name and a job, only 2 fields. So what I will do is in Java, we have something called hash map collection. In Java, we have a hash map collection. So by using hash map, I will generate this data or I will store this data in the hash map. And then I will convert that hash map into JSON format. And then I will pass the JSON format as part of your post request. But again, to generate this body, we have a different methods are available. Okay, different ways we can generate the post request body. So in the next session, I will discuss in detail how many ways we can generate the body of post request. Again, that is a big concept which we have, different ways, different approaches which we have. But here, let us use small approach, very simple, straightforward, which is hash map. Actually, we don't prefer this one in the real projects because if I use hash map, we have to hard code the data, right? So normally we don't suggest to hard code the data. So we don't use hash map, but currently we have only 2 inputs to pass as part of the request. So just let us try to use hash map, but tomorrow session, I will show you the actual way of generating the data. Post request, different approaches I will show you. So for now, I'm just using hash map. Okay, before given section, let us create something called hash map object. I say hash map hm equal to new hash map. And what kind of data we can store in the hash map? And what kind of data it will support? Data should be in the key and value pair. Key and value pairs, right? And even here also, in which format we have to send the data? Key and value pair. Name is a key, this is the data. This is a job is a key, this is a data. So key and value pair, the data we have to pass. So in hash map, we can maintain data in the key and value pair, right? So let's import this hash map from java.util. Now we need to add some data to this hash map. Let us add some data. Let's say hm hash map dot put. Put is a method to add the data, right? So here name is my field. The first field is name. And here I'm adding some value. This is my first field. Now hm dot put. And what is the next field? Job. Job we have to send job. And here can pass something called trainer. So this is my job. So I have put 2 details or 2 values in my hash map. Now my hash map contains 2 different requests. So this is one input, this is another input. So 2 values I have in my hash map. So 2 values I have in my hash map. So now we need to pass this hm. hm is representing what? Data only. hm is representing what? Data. Or you can just rename it data. So data is what now? HM type. So now data dot put and here data dot put. So now my hash map contains the data. So this particular data object we have to send along with the post request. This particular data object we have to send along with the post request. Okay, so now we have generated the data by using hash map. Now let's go to given section. So what are the prerequisite do we need to pass along with the post request? Prerequisite. We have to specify content type. What kind of content we are sending. Second thing is what? We have to specify the body also. There are two things which are part of the given section. Now go to given section. In the given, we have to specify something called content type. What kind of content we are passing. So for that, we have a method called dot content type. Content type. Content type is what? Application slash JSON. This is my content type. And what else? Body also we have to send, right? Dot body. And now we already created the data inside this, right? Same thing, we have to pass it here. Body is data. So now this data will go along with the request. Now given section is done. Now come to the when section. In when section, what we will do? We will send the request. So what type of request we have to send? Post request. So dot post. And here we specify the post request URL. So what is a post request URL? This is a post request URL. Go back and specify. So post request URL we have sent. Done. So now come to the then section. So what are the things we have to validate in the then section now? We can validate status code, right? We can validate other things, right? So here let's validate the status code. Dot status code. And what is the status code I'm expecting? 201. Whenever you create something, normally 201 is the status code. And if you have doubt, here you can check. So here I'm sending create a user post request. And here you can see 201 is the response code. Okay. So now I specify the status code. Now I want to put the entire response in my console window. So how we can log entire response in my console window? I can simply say dot, or before that, suppose ID is dynamically generated here. If you just look at here in this request, whenever you send this request, ID will be generated. See here, ID is 949. When you send one more time, the ID is 100. And one more time, the ID is different. So we cannot expect what ID it is going to generate. We don't know exactly. So we can't put any validation point on ID value. But we can use this ID value in the next request. Suppose if you want to update the user or if you want to delete the user, that time we can use this ID. Once you capture this ID, we can reuse it, but we cannot validate the exact value in the ID because this ID is dynamically generating. Fine. So now what I will do is status code we have validated. And what after that, I just want to print the response. How to print the response? By using log.all. Now here I'm ending the statement. So every statement should not put semicolon. Okay. The last statement only we have to put the semicolon. So this is the entire test for creating the user. So we have first created the data by using hash map. And in the given section, we specify the content type and body. And along with the body, we are sending the data. This data we are sending. And this is my post request. And once send the post request, we are validating the status code. And then we are printing the response in our console window. This is our test. Okay, still we need to add something here. First of all, let me just execute this and see whether it's working or not. So now my first test is already commented, so it will not execute. Now the second one will be executed now. Run as TestNG test. Okay, so now it is got failed. Now we'll see why it is getting failed here. So don't know how to encode. Yeah, this is the data error. So don't know how to encode that name, right, on the job as a byte stream. As a byte stream, it is giving some error. So let us see whether the data is correctly given or not. Okay, so let's try to check the data once again. So name, this is the hash map. Hash map equal to new hash map is fine. Data, put it's the name, and this is my name, job, double quotations and semicolon. Okay, this is fine. And at the time of sending the body, we are sending the body. Okay, so yeah, sorry guys, this is the content type validation wrong. Okay, application slash JSON. It is not a dot actually. Application slash JSON. Okay, yeah, save it, then execute. Okay, so now my request is successfully done. So if you just go to console, you will also see the response here. This is the response which is generated. And what is an ID which is generated? 4. 4 is my ID generated. Okay. So now if you want to update this record, okay, if you want to update this record, this ID is required for us. Okay, this ID, based on the ID, we will able to update name or job. So for the next method, next test, we require this ID. You can just look at here. If you want to update, put request update. Here we have to pass ID. 2 is my ID, and this is the data we have to pass. Then it will go and update the data. So what we have to do now, we have to capture the ID from the response what we get. So when I execute this method, we got some response, but we are just printing the response. We are not getting any data from the response. We are just printing the response. So now from this response, we have to capture the ID. We have to capture the ID, and that ID we have to use in the next request for updating and deletion. So how to return the ID, how to capture the ID from this method. So to capture the ID from this method, ID is used in other request also. In the update user, get request also, update user and delete user. In both the requests, we need ID. So I will create one global variable here, ID, integer ID. I just created one global variable because I can use this ID. I can access this variable in every method. Okay. Now, instead of printing this, instead of checking the status code, instead of printing this, I will just send the response back. I will get the ID from the response. So how to capture ID from the response? Where we have to capture ID from the response? Just try to remove this then section. Okay, I can just remove this, comment this then section, right? So here what we can do is directly, as soon as you send a post request, this will give you some response. On that response, we are doing these validations. So now what I want to do is, once you send this post request, I don't want to do any validations here, but I want to capture the response in a variable. So I put semicolon here. I end up the statement here. So as soon as you send the post request, okay, this will send some response. Okay, that response, how we can send back the response? The response in the form of JSON format. So here we have to use one additional method in the when section. What is that additional method? .json path. Okay, .json path. From the JSON path, we have to get int. Okay, get int is a method. Get int. So which data we want to capture from the response? ID value we have to capture. The ID, whichever ID is generated, the ID we have to capture. So that I can specify here, ID, and then semicolon, keep semicolon here. So what exactly happened here is, whenever you send a post request, it will return some response. On top of response, we are getting the JSON path, get int of ID. Okay, by using JSON path, I'm getting the value of the particular field. What is that field? ID, which is a number. So I'm using get int. If it is a string, then you have to use get string. Get string method you have to use. Depends on the data. Suppose here I have a name, job, ID. So for name and job, you have to use get string. For ID is a number. So ID is a number. So for that, we have to use int. Okay. So we have to get this ID. And where we have to store this ID, this will return some value. So before given section, we have to create a variable. So ID equal to
ID equal to. So this is how we can specify that. So int we already specified, right? Int ID we already specified. So just say only ID. So now given we specify the content type and body, we are sending along with the request, and we are sending the post request. And from the response, by using JSON path, we are getting the particular field ID and returning the value here. Now, what is this ID contains? ID contains the ID which is captured from the response, So this ID, I will use in another request for updating the request. So let me create one more request. Let me make priority equal to 1. So now let me create one more method. So not only one property, we can capture other properties also. Okay, so I will show you that options. We have a chaining concept, right? So that time I will explain how we can get the multiple fields from the response, because we need to also validate the entire response. So from the response, we have to validate all the fields. So we have a separate part for that, how to validate the JSON response, how to validate the XML response. We will see them in the separate sessions. Okay, this is not for validations. We are just trying to understand how to send a request. That's it. Only focus only that particular part. So forget about validations, forget about JSON path. We will discuss in detail one by one in the coming sessions. Okay. So for now, just focus mainly on the request type, how to send GET request, how to send POST request, how to send PUT request and delete request. So now we have created a user, and this ID, whatever ID I am returning here, this I'm going to use in another test. So let me create one more test. Void update user. And this is my another test, and give priority 3. So here I given 2, and here I will give 1, 2, okay, and 3. So update user, how to update the user? Almost it is same, just copy the same, but slightly change. Update means what? We have to just update the body, right? Again, we have to prepare the data. So previously the name and job is updated like this. Now this time I'm just changing the data. So here I can simply say, okay, so here I simply say some designation. Let's say job. I've got changed to the job. Okay. And also if you want, I can change the name also. I can simply change name also. Name and job is got changed. And this data I'm passing here, same content type, but instead of post, we have to use put request, and check the URL is correct or not for put request, update request. I think this is the same URL, but here something is different. Same URL, but here we have to pass ID of the user. And which ID we have to pass? Whichever ID we generated in the second request, create user. This ID we have to pass. So whenever you executed this test, the ID is generated. ID is returned into this variable. So the variable is a global variable we created, right? So can we use this ID? Yes, here, instead of passing this to hard-coded value, we can just pass ID. So what we can do now, we can just remove this hard-coded value and concatenate with ID. Okay, concatenate with ID. So this value dynamically get from the second request. Once a user is created, same user we are going to update with the another set of data. So here we don't need to return anything. So just we need to do some validation. So for that, what you can do, you can enable then section, and here we don't need to get any ID. So given, when, then, and remove the semicolon here because that's not end of the statement. You can just remove this entire thing. So then status code and the log all. What is the status code for updation? For updation 201. Again, it is same. And I'm logging all the response in my console window. So this is how we can update user. So now create user, update user. These two tests are linked together. So create user is linked with the update user. So if the create user is successful, then only we will able to update the user. Is there any dependency or not? Yes. So in TestNG, we have some feature. For example, if this test is passed or successfully done, then only execute the next request. If the create user is got failed, then obviously I can skip update user. How we can achieve that? Unnecessarily, I don't want to execute update user every time. If the create user is successful, then only I will execute update user. Otherwise, I just want to skip update user. How we can specify that? So before executing this update user, I want to check create user is passed or not. How it is possible? People who already know TestNG, they should know this. Yes, we have to specify the depends on methods. So we can add one parameter here. Depends on methods equal to, in the curly braces, we can specify what is that method, create user. Okay, so then before executing this update user, it will check create user is passed or not. If the create user is passed, then update user will execute. Otherwise, it will skip it. And from where this will get this ID? Before update user, we have to execute a create user. Then only we will get the ID, and that ID I can use in the create user method. Okay, done. So let's try to execute and see. Now, second request, create and update are both are linked together. So we have to execute them one. So I will also enable the first one. So 1, 2, 3, totally 3 requests we have automated. Get users, create user, then update user. Okay, so let us try to execute, run as TestNG test. Okay, now everything is executed. Now let's see, update user is got failed. So why it is got failed? We are expecting 201, but it is a returning status as 200. Let us see for update user, what is the status? For update user, put request, right? For put request, you can see for put request, 200 is a response actually. So we have put invalid value. That is actually 200, not 201. Okay, let's try to execute and see once again. Okay, so now you can see all 3 requests have got passed: create user, update user, and get users. Everything is got passed. Fine. So far we have achieved 3 different type of requests: get, update, get, create, and update. Now let us see deletion part. So let me create one more method, void delete user, and it is test annotation. I'll say priority equal to 4. Okay, now again same thing we will repeat. First of all, what is the section? Given. Next one is what? When. Next one is what? When. The next one is what? Then. So first write these 3 statements, then you can divide entire statements into 3 different parts. Okay, now for deletion of user, do you have any prerequisite in the given section for deleting users? If I just go here, for deleting user, do you want to pass anything as part of request body? No need, right? You can just keep this empty. Now go to when section. Here we have to send a delete request. So delete, and here specify the delete request URL. So this is a delete request URL. And again, this ID we should get dynamically. This ID. So I can say plus ID concatenation. So whatever ID we used here for updation, the same ID I'm using here for deletion. This is a delete request. And what are all things we can validate after deletion? What is the status code which is giving? Let us try this. 204 it is giving. So let's change the status code. Dot status code is 204. And do we have any content in the response body? Nothing is there, right? After deletion, there is no content displayed in the body, empty. So even if you put .log.all, it will not give you any response, but it will give you some headers information. Because even though we don't have any response body content, it will return some headers, cookies, and other information, right? So we can still use it. .log.all. We will have a separate session for this logging process. But for now, just understand it very high level. So there are again multiple options that are there in this log method. We will discuss them later. So this is a delete request. Given section, we don't have anything. In the when section, we have to send delete request. And in the then section, we have to verify status code. And then we are printing enter the response in the console window. So now all the tests are enabled. Get users is priority 1. Create user is priority 2. Update user is priority 3. And then delete user is a last request. And again, what are the methods are linked here? After creation of users, we are getting the ID. That ID I'm using in the update user and also in the delete user. Okay. So we don't need to delete anything because this is just a variable, right? We have variable we are maintaining to store the ID. So that same ID we are using in every request. So let me just run as a TESTNG test. So here we don't have such type of concept, unsetting or undeleting variables. No, this is a programming language. In the programming language, once you declare a variable, that is still alive. Okay, that variable we are using throughout the automation script wherever it is required. So we can't unset or we can't remove that variable. Okay, yeah. So now all 4 requests are successfully executed. Create user, delete user, update user, get users. And if you see here, all get user, create user, update user, delete, all are successfully executed. So this is how we can just automate the test in RestAssured. The process is same, but again, we will learn so many things here. What are the different things we can keep in the given section? All these things we are going to discuss. Okay, and different type of validations. Even response body also we need to validate by using JSON path, XML path, so many other options. Or we can also verify headers. We can also verify the cookies. And as part of given section, we can also pass authentication, query parameter, path parameter, header information, content type. Okay, in the coming session, we will discuss in detail. So here in today's session, I've just given very high level information just for understanding basics. Okay, so once it is done, so in the next session, we will continue further. Okay.